The idea was let's make a black metal album, and what happened was our style. We couldn't help it, so it was an accident.
Kind of been that way ever since. We can't change it if we tried.
Yep, it's baked in now.
Welcome to the Dreams of Consciousness podcast. If you'd be so kind, would you mind introducing yourselves?
Will from Yellow Eyes.
And I am Sam, also from Yellow Eyes.
Will and Sam, welcome. Let's get this out of the way. How would you describe the music of Yellow Eyes?
You know, I'll just say I'll use the Killing Joke term tension music. That feels good enough to me. It's black metal.
I would say melodically forward, kind of complex. It's semi-satisfying black metal.
Well, I mean, I'm banging my head against the wall every time to figure out how to explain the band after we finish a record for the press kit. We do everything ourselves, so a lot of this stuff we have to, do the things that most people hire people for. So yeah, I've had to come up with a lot of words about the band. It's always excruciating. You know, yeah, tension release,
Black metal.
melodic black metal.
So black metal means different things to different people. Would you say you guys use a lot of tremolo picking and blast beats and scream vocals, the kind of things that people associate with black metal?
That's that is what makes us a black metal band. Yeah, we use that. I mean, we've said before. I think what in respecting the limitations of the genre, we've found a very great well of creativity. It kind of has benefited our creative process.
In the early days when we started, the idea was we were going pretty traditional in the early days. What is it, 15 years ago now? The idea was, let's make a black metal album, and what happened was our style. We couldn't help it. So it was an accident.
Kind of been that way ever since. We can't change it if we tried.
Yep, it's baked in now.
What about stuff like psychedelic rock or prog rock or stuff like that? Do you feel like some of your riffing and some of your scales are rooted in other forms of music?
Definitely. In fact, when we're all driving around the country together preparing to record, we're listening to all kinds of music. There have been times that, we listened to. There was a moment before Emergent Trench Reverie where we'd written the whole album. We were up there in Connecticut in the woods where we record, and we were driving to the music store to get some guitar strings and maybe some more mic cables or something. And there was a prog hour on, or some kind of prog block on the local classic rock station. And for whatever reason, maybe because our brains were so tightly wound around riffs of a certain type, we were just sort of, we suddenly were like, are we a prog rock band? Like, this is speaking to us right now. We went home and listened to like 4 hours of Emerson, Lake and Palmer and like, Blue Oyster Cult stuff. We're like, I don't know, we might just be making prog rock. I don't know.
We don't think very much about like, the lineage of black metal when we're writing our guitar parts. I think speaking to the style of music, like tremolo picking, it's just something we've always done. The blast beating, everything. But when it comes to writing the actual melodies and the riffs, we're never exactly thinking back of like black metal lineage and trying to make something sound like something that has been done before. I think we feel pretty free when we're writing the song. So it's it is what it is. At the end of the day, I think that's what makes it feel unique. At least I hope we sound unique.
Right. It's very much never a checklist, checking things off. We never sit around talking about other bands, really, that we're trying to sound like in those moments. And in the writing moments, we're never really thinking about other bands very often at all.
Yeah.
We're not thinking about where it falls. I mean, it's not an exaggeration to say that when we wake up from our Rip Van Winkle sleep, we're deep in this process. We wake up and suddenly it's time to give an interview, and we're like, what have we made? I don't even know. I rely on sometimes other people giving the first few reviews and kind of crib that sometimes. I don't even know what it is. I don't even care to know. I don't mind not knowing until later.
I think the purity in our process like that, just insular and just obsessive. I think it's reflected in the kind of I don't know, the oppressive nature of the melodies and the songs or something. I mean, we're just tied up in it.
Yeah, it's like a tape that gets left out in the sun. It's warped by sunlight. It's warped by the pressure of our own process and our own minds, and perhaps this solitary feeling that goes into making these records. It can be very lonely and very wild, especially, each of us have our own lonely walk with it. Will kind of has a moment early on that he's alone with it, and later on I'm alone with it for a fair amount of time, and it's you do lose your mind and it warps. And I've asked myself, can we do it without that? Because it's not always that good for you to get that insane
Not
about
good for our
something.
lives.
It's not
Yeah.
good for your life. But for now, I would say it's something that works.
15 years in, I think it's like I don't really. Yeah, I wish it wasn't that way, but there's no other way to do it. It has to take over my entire life
Right.
for way too long.
It is kind of in a vacuum. So, yeah, whenever people are like, oh, I'm sure they were thinking about this band or that band, probably not. We were just trying to figure out what day it was. And
Make something that sounded cool.
yeah, right.
Did the two of you grow up playing together? Were you guys always in bands together?
No, never. This is the first band we've ever been in together. But we were brothers. We grew up sharing a bedroom and being close, but also bickering and really never agreeing on music at all.
We didn't agree on music until, I don't know. And I think, yeah,
Probably about a year before the band started.
it might have been the first year that we agreed on music is when we started making music together. Yeah. I mean, it was always any siblinghood, anybody with a brother can understand. You're arguing about things that are not the things that you're arguing about. It's a bit like a relationship. It's sort of like there's a deeper thing there. And I think we were trying to stake our claim, figure out our territory. You know, we're just always tripping over each other, always in each other's business, same room for our entire lives. Went off in different directions and met impulsively in the Czech Republic in about, 2008?
8 or 9.
Late
something like that.
2008.
Yeah, maybe 2008.
And stayed there for a year, and something about that
That place, the
percolation,
time.
it was a strange bleak time, and
Started going to lots of metal shows. They were pretty powerful, just being there then, and the misty cobblestone streets kind of is perfect to see a very strange black metal show in somewhere in some corner of Prague.
yeah, I think that was I was sort of I wasn't. It took me longer to get into metal. I wasn't necessarily, I didn't grow up a metalhead. I was just, my point in all these arguments was like, look at all the other colors of the rainbow out there, bro. And he was like, yeah, but there's infinite colors in this one color. And I was like, what?
Turns out we were both
right. Yeah, we were both wrong and both right.
both wrong and both right.
Being in Prague for that time, it made me understand the point of music that bleak music. What was the point of it? I got it then. I got it then for the first time in my life, feeling this kind of strange nothingness, and that was a voice for it.
When you guys decided to put Yellow Eyes together, what were the goals originally? Was it just to capture that feeling, that spirit that you experienced in Prague, or was there something more to it?
I think it was so like simple. I think
Yeah,
we were
very
just like,
basic.
let's just we after Prague we moved. We were living in the city, and I think we were always musical. We both had played the guitar for many years, and I think we were at that point kind of aware of like the Brooklyn metal scene. We were aligning on musical interests. And I remember early on we were just like, let's write a song. I think it was as simple as that. We wrote a song. I don't even think we used a computer. We didn't like record any parts. It was more like a game. It was like, I remember my part, you remember your part, and then like, oh, this is really fun to like just play these parts together. Like the winding. This was Silence Threads the Evening's Cloth.
Yeah, we would just like
That record.
drink beer and play these songs like unplugged on two electric guitars in our tiny apartment.
Yeah, it was just like,
with like
wow,
rats
this is
running
like
around.
super fun. We were just like,
Yeah.
let's make another one. That was like, and suddenly it's like we have 3 or 4 songs, and it's just like playing video games.
It
In
was-
a way, it's like, man, we're remembering these riffs and remembering these songs and playing them through. It's like that feels pretty good.
Yeah, it was very much like playing video games. It felt like early Guitar Hero or something.
And it
was
it felt low stakes because we were just doing it for fun, and I think we just recorded it in some like little, by the hour practice space in the city. We were
we recorded the whole thing. Yeah, it was a 2-hour practice block, and we just used the microphones that were there for vocals.
yeah, just like
It was like, I think it was like
Right.
SM58s that they had just 4 vocals for singing through, and I just brought a tiny mixer and just went direct in and
Didn't overthink it.
didn't overthink it.
Never thought that we'd be sitting here
Yep.
talking about this 15 years later, truly.
When did you guys decide to expand the lineup and bring in the others?
We started playing live like probably a year after we started, tinkering away in our little apartment with just kind of like a ragtag. It was like our friends from high school, and like we just kind of put it together. I remember it was like very nerve-wracking and just kind of like, I don't, looking back, I don't even know what was driving us to go forward and do these things, but I think it was in writing the songs, like that was so fun to us that it was like the second we finished recording, we weren't doing like this normal band path where it's like, let's fill out the lineup and like book some cool shows. I think we finished recording. It was like immediately, let's make something else. Let's do this again. Like writing.
Yeah, we definitely didn't. We had no sense of where we fit in or how to do anything. We just thought, well, I guess we did that one. Time to start writing another
Start
one.
writing another one. And I think, eventually we got Hammer of Night. I think that was the record where we were like, okay, playing some like, pretty good shows, feeling pretty good. And then our drummer who had started with us, he wanted to be like, he was a good drummer, jazz drummer, not a metal drummer, didn't come from that world at all. He went off onto a cruise ship to be a professional drummer, essentially. He left the band, and we were always kind of like peripheral in the metal scene. We had, we weren't like, I don't know, we hadn't lived there forever, and we kind of just filled in the lineup was like coming and going for a while.
Our bassist went to Vietnam, and our drummer went on a cruise ship, and we thought, well, time to talk to some people who we've met along the way here.
We've been on a couple and this and that. But it really, I mean, to me, and I think when we released Sick with Bloom or started writing Sick with Bloom, and we had Mike from Fell Voices and etc. on the drums, and Alex was our friend from Anacon, another one of these bands that we were friends with. We actually did our first tour ever with Anacon. When we brought them in, they were kind of like, they had been they'd played way more shows than we had ever played. And they kind of helped it feel like, okay, this is like, we could kind of go anywhere from here. And we worked really well together, and we made Sick with Bloom. And I think that, that was our first record that kind of maybe pushed us to a new level in a way.
when you write songs, do you guys always start together, or do you write individually and then share notes on what you guys have come up with?
We've found a pretty good formula for us, which is, this is just the way it works, is Will sits down for a while. This is often when,
4 months.
yeah, right. Could be months, could be whatever years. I don't know. It's essentially Will operates in this kind of gigantic sketch pad way.
Essentially, like I sit in my room and I do like, it's almost like free association, like both guitar parts going forward, and I never ever go back. So it'll be like one riff. You don't listen back to like what would come next after that. Next riff. What would come next after that? Next. So I'm not writing a song. I'm writing like essentially like 50 riffs a night. Just this and that and then that and then that and then that. And it's how it keeps it fresh to me. It's like when I'm in that moment, I'm not like, I have no like editorial skills. I'm not going back. I just want to like put material down. That's it. Just like get it down.
And it is, I mean, it is. So then just to sketch it out. So there's that. And then we sit down together after there's
a big pile
something, there's a pile. When Will starts feeling like there's something there, I'm like, all right, let's see what we got here. And we sit down.
Or often when I don't think there's something there,
sure.
I'm like, I think I've lost it. I have nothing. I can't do it anymore. And Sam will be like, what do you mean? There's tons of stuff here. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot. You cannot do this alone forever.
Right. Well, I like to just listen to it like an editor and just sometimes there will just be one little section, even if it's like 10 seconds or 15 seconds, I'm like, that's the beginning. That's something we can start with, and making little notes, just thinking about it. It's like watching your footage that you made for a documentary. It's like, what do we have here? What are we starting with? But I will say that the experience of listening to Will's wild, like I would call it like a spool of fabric in some industrial warehouse. It's just like, it is one of the trippiest things you can ever do. I mean, it's an experience that would make someone like fall over, like faint. It's like
it just never ends.
It is. I mean, I've often said you got to release these as is, because it's like it'll bowl you over. It's because you can hear the logic in there, but you can also just hear the frantic pace of it. You could hear that there's no looking back. You just feel like you're falling off the tracks at all times.
Oftentimes a riff might have like, a riff in a song someone hears will have like, four notes or something repeated over and over again. That makes the groove and whatever. I'm not trying to establish a groove. I'm trying to figure out what those 4, 8, 10 notes, whatever. I just want to know what those 4 notes are, 10 notes, whatever. And once I figure that out, it's like, move on to the next thing. I'm not sitting here in my room trying to make it feel good.
Right.
I just want to know what those notes are. Moving on. That's it. So yes, it does come across as a very maybe unpleasant listening experience. Uninitiated.
I mean, but there are times that even now I'm the one with the ears most attuned for this. We write a lot of the songs together. I write some of them by myself, some parts of it by myself. But it's like, that usually comes later. I like kind of slotting things into areas, or maybe finding a new intro for something, or writing the bridge, or that's somehow the parts that work best for me. But I'm the one who's supposed to have the ears for this. And there are some moments that Will brings me 2 minutes of music, and he's like, I don't know, what do you think of this? And I'm like, I can't even hear what's happening.
And then sometimes
I can't.
Sometimes in those moments I'll be like, but I like, sometimes I can't either, but sometimes I can. I'm like, no, trust me.
Yeah.
Occasionally that's the case. And it's like, once you get it, I mean, it does make me feel like I'm losing my mind, because I can play like something that I might think, to me in my little, vacuum world, it's like, yeah, this is just like a simple little catchy thing, and I'll play it for Sam. He might be like, I don't know what you're playing me. Then I'll play it for Mike. He'll be like, I have no idea what you're playing me. Yeah. I'll be like, well, to me, this is like very simple. And I'll have to be like, what is even real in my world? I don't even know.
There's a lot of negotiation. Sometimes, we often have to sell each other on things. Later in the process, when then we get together, we sit, we have a lot of nights where we're just piecing things together, and we often do a lot of writing together in that phase where we're like, all right, clear the head, just I don't know, change something about your consciousness and just take a walk around, come back, and let's sit down and the first thing we play, let's just commit that to tape. Or let's write a bridge right now. We got 10, we're playing little, giving little challenges, just like, all right, let's get this done. Work together for a bit, get some material that way, and then I'll often go off and stress about it the entire next day and think, there's just something about that. It could be different. And I often have to come to Will and sort of sell him on things and be like, all right, I know we've liked the structure here, but just hear me out. I think we have to do the entire thing backwards or so,
Well, that's Sam's strength. I mean,
Yeah.
I get like, I'm capable of getting married to some idea or let's say like some of the riffs I'm bringing, I'm like, ready for them to all be chopped up, but I'm like, I love 1, 2, and 3 together. In my mind, those three live together. It's the only way I can hear this happening. And then there are many of those little periods of mourning where it's just like, Sam's like, I hate to break it to you, but 1, 2, and 3 cannot live together anymore. It's two is going to live all alone. And I have to be like, at this point, I mean, we're so many years in, it's just like,
We got to splice
I
things
know
off.
you're right. I know you're right. And I will mourn the loss of 1 and 3, but I know you're right. So it's made it, I think we're more efficient now because I think that, I don't know if, I'm sure other bands work just like this or similarly or whatever, but I could just say for myself, we're very lucky to have a brutal editor. When something's not working, it's just like, just blow it up completely. Don't try to hang on to anything and be like, we might be able to make it work. It's like, if it's not working, blow it up completely.
Yeah, if anyone's wondering how to write better music, I'm not saying that we write the best music, just saying it's what has worked for us is you throw out 95% of it and you just write a lot of riffs and you throw out most of it and be brutal and you'll find something at some point.
Will, when you're recording these riffs, are you recording them on your phone, or are you using something like Pro Tools or Ableton or something like that?
I have like a kindergartner's knowledge of Pro Tools. So I can record and delete and save. It's about it. So, but I have Pro Tools. I run into basic problems all the time. I'm like, Sam, get over here. We live in the same town, luckily. Sam, on the other hand, has this entire studio with like, we're sitting in it right now. Sam's a professional. You're a professional on Pro Tools. So at least I have somebody I can ask when I'm like, this is making me feel so crazy. But
I
can do
like,
everything.
but I this is a weird I believe in, I think Will's chaos approach to Pro Tools is helpful. I can't
Yeah.
prove it,
Yeah.
but I think, and also like the file management, like going through the riffs and just being like 7-14-23
Dot 1A.
dot 1 dot 7 dot 14 dot 22
It's just like, oh my
dash,
gosh.
and it's like just these wild collections of folders. It's like no hacker could follow the trail of where these riffs come. We just lose things all the time. It's like there was the best riff we ever wrote. It's just gone.
It's
We'll
just
never
gone.
find
Like,
it again. It's somewhere in this
Someday I'll
file.
find it.
I don't know, but I think
yes.
somehow that's helpful. I believe in the chaos approach.
It's usually not on my phone. Usually, like if I'm just messing around on the guitar, I'm like in my house. So if I come across some cool pattern or something, I'll just run upstairs and record it. I have recorded things on my phone, but to answer your question, it's usually Pro Tools.
What state are the songs in terms of arrangements when Alex and Mike hear them? Are the arrangements mostly complete?
Sam and I get like totally obsessed in the writing thing. Like we get so zoomed in. I would say in our minds, we're like, we're not good at like sharing things because we're just so locked in our little world. It's like we eat, sleep, drink, everything is like the songs. It can't stop until something is feeling right. And
If the songs aren't feeling right,
it's like we're not sharing them.
yeah, we can't play it.
That's
You
not to
can't
say
play
we're
it.
holding it back. Like if Mike or Alex, if they're around, we'll be like, check out this idea or whatever. But like when we're in that mode, it's an obsessive, crazy mode. that usually lasts like a month or two. So it's not that long, but like in that month or two, we will get all the songs like in our minds, 99% of the way done. Again, we've been doing this for a long time. We know how this works. It's like, I know that when we bring it to Mike and Alex, if they hear something, they're usually right. They're usually like, that part should go longer. That part should be tripled. You know, we're aware that we're like often too zoomed in. Like we do a very thorough job, but often we're too zoomed into like it's capable. We're capable of making like overlooking something.
Right. And it's, I mean, you know, we are writing the majority of the songs, and they're in our, you know, they're pretty significantly far along when we show them, but it's definitely not this one-way street. It's not some kind of decree. It's like the songs are ready. It's like, in fact, it's kind of a
totally nerve-wracking,
tense moment
it's
when
like,
we're
oh my
showing
gosh, I
them. We're
hope they like
sitting
it.
by a fire at practice or something, and it's like, I know that if there's sort of silence in the air after it's done, or if Mike takes a drag off his cigarette and is thinking about it for a minute, I'm like,
we got to go back and redo this whole
I almost
thing.
want to just stop and just be like, I know, all right, I know. Like, you know, it's sort of like,
we trust them completely.
Well,
I
we
mean,
trust their feedback,
Those
yeah.
two have the ability to like, you know, completely upend our process just by, you know, with one word. They can be like, no. And we'll be like, okay.
right. So you could say we're a little neurotic about it. Maybe that's the
Yeah, I would say so.
maybe that's the answer here.
So last month you guys released a new album, but I actually want to go back to the previous album, Master's Murmur, because these two albums were conceived together. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That is correct. Yeah.
So something you said is very interesting to me. Something about Sam, all the different colors besides black that you have available to you, and that's kind of what Master's Murmur sounds like to me. It sounds like you guys decided to do an album without the tremolo picking, without the blast beats, but at its core is still the way you guys write riffs, the way, the kinds of scales that you guys use, and, taking them out of one context and putting them in a different context. Do you think that's a fair way of looking at it?
Yeah, I think the original conception was, I think it was pretty basic at first. We were like, let's make an weird EP of interlude style material. That immediately it immediately became clear that there was a more interesting project afoot, and pretty clear it revealed itself to me as, let's take a different angle at our two voices, Will and my voices, and show them in a more colorful way. I mean, I've often made music more like that, more like the Master's Murmur style. Lots of that kind of texture. I'm pretty obsessive about texture and pacing and kind of moody atmospheres. That's my bread and butter, where Will's bread and butter is these kind of spiny, angular towers of melody. And I've always loved the demos. At times, I mean, Will does all sorts of demos, but I've often loved the ones that are just clean, like clean pick, direct in guitar. That was how you first started writing guitar music. And it was like, a lot of these things could be showcased in a way that feels, it was kind of just a theory. We didn't know if it was going to work. It's like, I think this will feel the same kind of in a weird
Yeah.
way. But that was maybe one of the rare moments in our history where we were sort of like, we love bands that sound like that, and we were not shy about being like, it's okay. We love.
And we were working with Mike and Alex the whole time. They were with us in the studio the whole time.
We
So
were
it
with
was
Mike
like,
and Alex the whole time. It was way more of a full band experience. It was very democratic. Everybody was doing something. A lot of, it was like, without exaggeration, I mean, I had a microphone plugged in and we were just handing it around. And I would be writing lyrics just on a notepad and just handing it to people and being like, let's do it. Just see what this sounds like. Do this.
I remember the pressure of it because we were working so fast. We were having so much fun with it, but we did have a deadline because we were gonna go on a little tour and we wanted to make tapes and bring it with us, whatever. So we were working fast, but I remember, Mike lives in the city. We live a couple of hours north, so he has to take a train up and don't want to waste his time or anything. I remember some of the tracks, it's like, okay, Mike is getting on a train. I don't know what, we don't have the well of riffs is running dry. Like, what are we gonna do today? And I remember Tremble Blue Morning, probably my favorite song from that record. I remember sitting in my living room, plugging my guitar and writing that guitar part while Mike was on the train up in like absolute duress, just being like, oh my gosh, like I got 2 hours, he's like passing 125th Street. Okay, he's at 4, like, oh my God, okay.
Yeah.
And I don't like working under pressure, but in some weird way, like we were under pressure that whole time. It was, not real pressure. There's no like label breathing down our backs or anything like that, but we create pressure for ourselves. And I think we do work well under pressure.
We knew it was good. We knew that there was something there, and it would have been a disservice to call it 3 songs when we knew it was something more. And there were a lot of times of just, turning on a synth and just playing a few chords and waiting until everybody was like, yeah, I like that. And just being like, okay,
Also,
the next song.
Also, a lot of concepts. I mean, that the ritual is gone. I remember
Yeah.
Mike just saying, "I want to have a song that starts just with this like like Mike sketched out that entire song drumming on his lap and then like humming the things in between. It's like, okay, let's make that real now. Let's do that.
Yeah, the sounds that opened the record, this kind of moaning flute sounds almost like air raid sirens, was something Alex had made. I just told Alex, just record something before coming in, just come with a wave file of some kind. And Alex did that, and I was like, great, it's opening the record, like that sound, that air raid sound. Just yeah, it was pretty free, and I would say it really did open a door. I felt the door opening at the time, and I would say that we only realized while recording it that that these two records were sort of connected in this way. It really was something we were realizing in the 3 weeks of recording the record. We were like, okay, now it makes sense. There is a full band version of this. There's a full band version. These can work together.
We liked the idea of sharing riffs. We thought that was cool. We'd always kind of wanted to do that. Like, why should this riff only exist in one place? Like, why not do it in two places? But you don't want to have that feel like just a repeat. So it's like, it'd be cool to do a riff, the riff, like a riff again, but then make it feel new and make it go a totally different direction, or have distortion like it didn't before, or
Yeah,
whatever.
even before it became this big conceptual thing, it was really just, we can't think of a reason not to do this. I remember just thinking, I can't think of a reason. I can't imagine being offended by hearing the same riff on two different albums.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
just as long as we don't make it feel like a
Yeah,
simple
I just,
repeat.
it's not, I wouldn't want to hear the same song on two different albums necessarily, but I just for the life of me couldn't think of a reason why. Imagine your favorite band just having a riff that they play on every album in their whole discography. You'd be
Yeah.
like, this is incredible.
We actually had this, I think it was coming, we talked a lot about this idea. I think this was a cool idea, and I do think that we're still going to do this, but the idea of doing a split record with one of Mike's other band. He's in a band called Vilcasis. It's kind of his solo black metal project. I play the guitar in it live, but we had talked about doing a split with Vilcasis, where we're recording with the same instruments in the same room. So it's not like, the same like connected ambient interlude feelings tying both sides of the thing together. And the one thing that we would do is when Yellow Eyes ends our side of the split, we end with this riff, and Vilcasis starts their side of the split playing that exact same riff. So it just kind of morphs into this other band playing the exact same riff, but like then that goes, all the decisions Mike would make to what comes after that same riff. It's like, we just thought that would be so cool.
Yeah, for the life, I feel like I haven't even hit I haven't found the boundary of this concept that
Yeah.
feels bad to me. Why can't you share material across projects? I don't know.
How much of Confusion Gate was complete or in progress when you guys released Master's Murmur?
Man, I think at that time we had a lot of material, and like we were trying to make it work. I think in our minds we were like, man, we got like half a record here. Turns out we had zero of a record. We thought we were the riffs we were pulling from the material that we had that we thought was like a pretty good chunk of a record. All of the best riffs went on to Master's Murmur, and we were kind of like not that psyched about the ones that were left over. It's like it wasn't really working.
Right, it speaks to how long the process is, at least for this record, for Confusion Gate, it was to define it, to find its identity. It took us a while because we had this big pile. There's a couple keepers on there, but I would say that a big thing, at least in my brain, I actually don't know that the rest of the band feels this. You might operate even a little differently than me on this, Will, but like for me, it really helps to, like, I can't sleep at night until I just see this feeling, this it's sort of how the concept. I'm the one who kind of comes up with the lyrics and the conceptual glue that hangs it together, and in the kind of non-musical ways and sometimes musical. It's sort of like, what is this thing? What is it? What's the point of this? Why does it exist? What's the image? What's the vision? What's the dream? And until I feel that, I feel like I'm just wandering the desert looking for
and
a
we're feeling
plant.
that even with like six songs that are 6 minutes long that make logical sense that don't even have there aren't even like bad riffs in them. So it's like even with that, you could be like, it's just not. There's something that's not right.
It's not essential. I don't know. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, there's almost this is where words fail. This is where like the song itself is the only thing that can tell you. You listen to the demo and you're like, I don't know. I'm left cold.
And
I don't know
I mean,
why.
we went back and forth for months sitting there, just plenty of nights. You drink a few beers, you're just like trying to convince yourself. You're like,
Yeah, you're trying to fall in love with it.
what's wrong with the song? The song rules, right? 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 Yeah, no, I think the song rules. And then you go home and it's like, I'll text Sam. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. It's like the song does not rule, and I can't figure out why. I can't figure out why.
Yeah,
And then,
and I'll be awake too. I'll be like, I know, what's up? It doesn't go anywhere past the 2 minute mark.
still, like I have love for that song, and I have love for everything there. And that's where Sam comes in. He's like, "How about this? Drop the bomb, blow it up. The song doesn't even exist anymore. Like we might keep one single mini riff from the entire thing that like I almost loved, and everything else is gone."
Well,
And that's where it really starts to build
right.
anew.
And Master's Murmur was the key to the lock because it made me realize that was the conceptual work in a way. Once we did that, I was like, I know what this record has to feel like. Now it's just a matter of writing it, sort of. But yeah, I mean, I think the way we often work is you feel that high water mark raising, and you think, what's the best? So you have, let's say you have 3 demos, and they're all like 60% good. It's like, it's a kind of a passing grade. It would be an acceptable record. Some people might like it. We'd still be able to go on tour with it. You break them up, and you glue component parts of all 3 into one song. And you have one insane song that makes almost no sense, but it's exciting, it's thrilling. And you're like, why does it go from that 1 meter to this other meter? It was meant for this other song. But suddenly it's alive. And it's like, there's a moment where you're like, we have now one really good song because something happened with just splitting things up and rewriting things and gluing things together.
Which can be depressing. You can be like, we used to have 3, and we've been trying to do this for 6 months.
Right. We almost had an album, and now we have one song. How about that? Because we cannibalized it, and now there's one great one. But suddenly you feel the weight. There's something like the pail becomes a little heavier, and you're like, it's becoming more real because there's one song. We just need more that are as good as this. And somehow it just adds validity to the process.
And it also starts, once the ball starts rolling, it turns out like, it's depressing because you're like, each one of these riffs took it took all night to write 50, boiled down to 2, 2 good ones or whatever. It takes forever. It takes forever. But once you start getting going and we, lock in, I could go home and it's like, I might write 10 riffs. All 10 are keepers then. It's like, you do get better at it. You're like, okay, I'm getting in, it's, you on fire, you're just like,
yeah, it's NBA Jam. You start hitting the threes and suddenly everything goes. It's like, there was a moment near the end of this thing where we were just writing nothing was wrong. We would sit down and be like, all right, we have like this whole middle section to do. We'd sit down, put our fingers on the guitar and start playing simultaneously. And we'd just be like, that's it.
Yeah, next. It's like in real time.
We didn't even talk about what key it was in. We're like, that's it.
30 seconds of music. We played for 30 seconds. It's like, done. Keep it. Moving on.
It was like, it became I don't know. I mean,
but it took a long time to get there.
Yeah, like I can't tell you. We're gonna forget how to do it again and have to relearn it.
Probably
again.
have forgotten already.
Probably already forgot. Yeah, but you have to get to that magic formula.
You guys have seem to have really strong feelings about song structure and composition, and what works and what doesn't work, at least within your taste. I'm curious if you guys studied music, if you guys studied music theory, if that's where you're coming from, or if you work from a very intuitive way when you put songs together.
We were raised in a house of music. Our mother is a great composer and would spend all hours of the night playing piano. And she had that obsessive gene that we both are showing signs of.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's probably a diagnosis there, but I don't care about that. It's just, yeah, it's the crazy I can't sleep until it's right gene. So she was always playing the piano. Our dad is a musician and great violin maker. Will's a violin maker too. We both grew up playing violin pretty poorly, but I think it filtered in through the rafters somewhere. And I technically went to school for music, but I can say it was a pretty pathetic music education. And nothing that I'm employing today was learned in those years at all.
Yeah. Same.
And
I would say it's all intuitive. Zero.
all
zero-
intuitive.
Zero.
100%. In fact,
Self-taught.
we're not even that great at guitar. It's
No.
not like we're using some kind of like skill
No.
from music or playing. It's like, in fact, my frustration with music classes in school, which I'm not going to say was worthless. But I loved hearing people talk about great composers. But as far as the compositional scene in your local college and your average college, I just found it the way people were talking about writing music, it just felt so stiff. People would just sit around idealizing these chord progressions and just picking them apart. And I would just think, those are my friends, those chords you're playing there. I know what that guy was thinking. I mean, I'm not gonna, it's always worth. I'm not saying music theory is not worth studying, and I'm not saying it's not worth deconstructing. In later years, I actually got really into the idea of looking into scores and seeing how things worked. But at the time, I remember just thinking, people have to get off this soapbox and just like finger paint with it. Like that. Like why are we spending all this time sitting here talking about chords when you could just be slamming your hands on a piano and waiting until something happens?
That's
and,
exactly the process.
Yeah,
Just like
just stop talking about it and just go and slam notes together. There was not enough of that at all. And later in life, that was the great joy for me. It was just slamming notes together.
It's interesting. Every so often, I'll speak to somebody who studied music in school, or came from like a classical or jazz background, and I always think like, well, they have like strict rules about what you can or can't do, right?
Mhm.
And it turns out the opposite is true. Like the people who studied composition, who study music, are very intuitive when they write songs, or very, almost free flow, and don't put any restrictions on their music. Whereas, you hear about like these pop producers who have these rules of like, the song has to be 157 beats per minute. That's what a hit song is.
Yeah. Right.
It has to be an A minor, and it's funny how like, there's this yin yang between people who come from this very like rich, classical jazz background and are very, very skilled musicians and composers who don't put those kinds of restrictions on themselves.
Well, right. I mean, it's the thing is, it's a little toolbox. It's like you can use whatever you need to use. If you're trying to get out of a corner, you're like, oh man, we've really gotten ourselves in it this time. We're in this crazy key. I have no idea where we are anymore.
it does not make any. It defies all rules of anything to be able to go from there to there.
Yeah, and you're just like, man, I have no idea. We're in this crazy key. We're in some weird meter. We're trying to get back to the chorus. In those moments, there are times I'm like, all right, let me crack open the toolkit. Like, let me do some circle of fifths. Let me think about that. How do we get back? I'm like trying things in different keys. I'm like, we could sort of do a strange meter, get us back. Maybe it's a little extra measure. There are moments where I'm like,
that does help sometimes.
It
But
helps.
also, it helps to be like, or you could just slam some notes together and be like, does that work? And you're like, kind of.
Yeah.
I think it actually might.
but it's just that I think so many people forget that. Well, I don't know. A lot of people do it really well. It's just that you just have to sit there and try everything and
If
just
I
think
if I
about it.
ever thought about for 1 second what key we were in, I would never make any songs ever.
Yeah,
I would be like, I don't even want to think about that.
yeah, yeah. No, it can be a drag. I mean, yeah, it really is one of those things. You just I really just I mean, I'm a professional composer. I write music for TV commercials. I'm writing classical music all the time. Every day, I'm writing full orchestra classical music. And even in that context, I'm very rarely thinking about how it fits together. It's all intuitive. I'm just like, when does it sound right? Yeah, let me group some flutes and strings together. I don't know. I mean, I would also say that this is not a good thing. I wish I were better at this, but I just started doing it kind of this way, and this is how I do it. I do trust my instincts, and that's, I guess, in a way, as a composer, is my greatest strength, is just trusting yourself.
Sam, you spoke a little bit about coming up with lyrical concepts for Master's Murmur. Are there themes, or is there a concept that stretches across both albums?
Yes, I started getting really into this idea of, well, I think key to this is the trip that we were going on. We the first idea was, let's put this album together to make enough money to go to Greece. We just got it in our heads randomly. We're like, we're going to do this festival in Germany, and we should just do a layover in Greece and just go walk around Athens. And our bassist was
Studying Greek.
learning ancient Greek, and we just thought, let's just go on a little trip here. And and that kind of got into my head, and I found I was just walking by, saw some yard sale and saw this old book of a travel brochure from Greece from the 50s, and there was a picture deep in there of a woman in a tobacco field, which is the cover of Master's Murmur. And I just saw that and I was like, there's something here. I don't know. I just see it. There's something here. And I brought it home and I was looking at all these pictures and I just thought, I think this has to feel like a myth. I think I want to write a myth and put together something that feels larger than it, almost like a myth that you don't know how much of it is a dream and how much of it is some decree from on high. This kind of strange combination of symbology and frantic, urgent panic, a blend of those things. But what really what activated this was I was reading a book of folklore with my kid, my at the time 3-year-old kid, and there was a story. It was an old book from, I don't know, maybe the 70s or something. And there was a story about a will-o'-the-wisp where a kid gets lost in a swamp and almost gets taken by this specter and follows this light and this deceptive moment, and the animals in the forest try to warn him, but he goes on and he barely makes it out by blowing out the candle, and he never went into the swamp again. And I was just kind of haunted by this. It was at the moment we were trying to write music, and I was like, there's something about Yellow Eyes that always works with this. Like somehow the idea of a deceiving light, or that was one of the first things. It was like deceptive, deceiving light in the forest. I could work with this. And I thought about it, and against the backdrop of a myth, that just grew and grew until I just started coming up with these characters. I had this idea for the song Master's Murmur of a kind of classically simple male and female character, this strange, like deceased male patriarchal character, almost like in the old myths, like these weird, like the gods are just this marital couple or something, and this deceased male, the master, who's just around but he's dead and passing through the cornerstone and all these images, and the widow, who's this increasingly insane woman in this squalid house, and she's kind of longing to be in the other dimension with her partner and all these things. And that was Master's Murmur, that I kind of put lots of little breadcrumbs in there. And then for Confusion Gate, I just thought there's just way more here. I can blow this up even more. And I got pretty obsessed with it. And if I were to actually sketch out the whole story, I think it would be kind of baffling to everyone, including the band. I'd need some thumbtacks and some string for sure.
This is definitely Sam's journey was, I mean, he made it, I mean, all the way to the cover of Confusion Gate. That was a photo that Sam took of this figure on the hill in Iceland, like
Yeah.
way out in the West Fjords. It's like
I was looking for this image. I painted this. I was trying to find the cover of this album. I went through 3 or 4 covers, to the point where everybody was like, "This is great. This is fine." And then I would just, I think if I had gone to the eye doctor at this time, they would have looked in my eye and seen the cover of that album. I was like, I was looking for it everywhere. I had that pattern in my mind. It was like some like figure on the hill in the mist. Yeah, we went to Iceland. Incidentally, we're going on a trip with a relative there just for a few days, and I thought, if I don't find a picture of somebody on a hill looking threatening, then where in the world can I find this picture?
yeah.
We're going to this misty, insane Viking land. I must be able to find a photo here.
We thought, should we bring like a cloak in case one of us has to be the figure?
Right, yeah.
That wouldn't be right.
Yeah,
That doesn't fit our, that's not exactly our brand. And sure enough, there in the mist was this old statue.
Yeah, high up in the mountains.
Way out in the West Fjords
Yeah.
where not too many tourists go.
Right, a couple 100 miles away from anything, at the top of a mountain in the mist. Yeah, so you're in the clouds, and we stopped to take a drink from the stream, and we're just looking around. I mean, if you feel like you're on Venus or something, and we're kind of going back to the car, and I turn around and I just stopped. I was like, everybody, give me 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I see it.
Yeah, there it is.
It's the statue in the mist. It was like, there it is. So yeah, it really is I went pretty deep on this one.
That's great. You guys had a few guests join you and contribute to this album. Can you tell me a little bit about who played saxophone and provided additional vocals?
That's our friend and
Longtime ally.
Patrick Shiroishi, who is a great experimental saxophone player who makes amazing albums and plays unbelievable live shows that blew us away a few times.
Our first show after the pandemic, kind of just out of shape with it, kind of like getting back into it, was the Columbia Experimental Music Festival in Missouri. And we go out there and we're just one metal band on this eclectic bill of all different types of music, and our shows in this church, really cool church, and opening this show is this just kind of experimental jazz-ish trio, including Patrick. They play, and we're just sitting there, just like I guess it's probably the first show I'd seen since the pandemic, but it was just like, am I losing my mind, or is this like the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life? Like, what is going on? It was like a absolutely powerful, unbelievable performance. I mean, it truly, like, usually if you're a metal band playing after like any other kind of music, you have that kind of like volume on your side that kind of like helps, it helps win the crowd over or whatever. But it was like, after seeing that, it was just like, this is honestly hard to follow.
Yeah, Patrick is pacing through the crowd and moaning and
powerful.
Just like, I mean, it helped that it was this gorgeous church with crazy resonance. But yeah, we were a little like, do you really want us? You really want us now to do our thing after this, like, just improv performance? Here we are playing our neurotic, tightly knitted, like, insane person music that has no room for improvisation at all.
It turned out that Patrick, we had corresponded like many years ago. He's buying tapes from us and stuff like that, and just basically after seeing that performance, it was like, all right, this guy's like absolutely the real deal. I'm a super fan of his. This is amazing. So we hit him up for Master's Murmur. It was like, obviously we should do something together at some point. Master's Murmur was the perfect thing. He recorded with us for that, and it was just so easy. I mean, we sent him basically, I guess it was just like some of the ambient things or whatever, and just like our note to him was, do whatever you want. and he sent back just perfect material.
He was on tour and
okay.
found I think he was in a venue or something and found a stairwell, and the reverb was just so gorgeous. It sounded so good. It was
It's like in a voice memo.
Yeah, yeah.
It was just like,
It was
wow, this is
great.
amazing. So then, of course, coming here, it's like we're aware these two records are linked. Patrick has to come back. I mean, he just has to come back, and he was amazing again. As far as vocals go, we, playing up the lyrics of the lore, it's like we have these two characters. We have not to simplify it, but the master and the widow.
The master and the widow.
Our friend Ralph, who's the master, his voice comes in. He's the booming German deep voice at the end of Confusion Gate. He's our longtime friend. He plays in a black metal band called Ultha in Germany. We've toured with them several times, and we'll be touring with them again in April. And he's just a wonderful guy, and he's got a great voice. We're like, it's got to be Ralph. And the widow, this is just so funny. It's just my wife, who is Russian and not necessarily part of our music scene whatsoever, but she follows instruction very well in the studio. Sam's just like, can you say this? She just says it like, she performed very well. It was like, yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah, she did great. I was just like, say it.
Okay.
Say it like say it even softer, whisper it slower, softer, and she'll just say it. I'm just like, okay, say that 5 times. Good.
And I think it helped that both of them do not speak English as their first language. I think it's nice to have kind of like an accent that is a little bit hard to place. I think that helped the
whole album, just the entire idea is just, what I was thinking the whole time in these finishing touches was just out of place, out of time. You never know where you are. These people are yearning for things. They're whispering in your ear. They're guiding you places. You're at the mercy of them, and you just should feel unsettled the whole time. That was kind of the lesson from Master's Murmur that I was trying to do at the end with these touches. Just keep it turning, keep it spinning. You're never quite safe, was the feeling.
Sam, as you mentioned, you've been recording Yellow Eyes music since the beginning, and you have your own studio. In terms of the finished production, what did you want the sound to be? What did you want the listeners to come away with?
Well, I I worked on it for a long time. I struggled with it for a long time on this one, mostly because Yellow Eyes does feel a bit like a different animal in terms of how it needs to sound. There's a lot of interlocking melodies that really do feel like you're trying to highlight everything at once. I'm sure everybody who's ever mixed metal has had this feeling of like, so you want everything louder at the same time. Okay.
But also not to feel sterile
But
at all.
yes,
Like, organic.
but here's the thing, yeah, because and and I love music like that too. There is music that should be firing on all cylinders. Like great death metal needs to feel like it's just everything is killing you at once. But with us, I feel like I've tried to mix it that way and it suffers because we are not mechanical players. We're not machines. We never will be. I will never use a computer to make it sound like we are. That feels wrong. It feels fundamentally wrong for our band to do that. It doesn't even sound good. It doesn't work. We won't do that. We're not using drum triggers. We're not using any of that stuff.
Not using a metronome, a click.
No metronome.
Not even sliding mistakes out.
Yep,
Leaving
there's
everything in.
barely any editing of timings or anything. So, with that in mind, what do you do with the sound? What works to me for us is this strange, I don't even know how to explain it, but cold and warm. Currents of cold, currents of warm. It should feel, what I was telling myself for this one was drums a little more pressurized, a little tighter. I was thinking like, classic 70s heavy metal feeling on the drums. Whether or not that's what they sound like to anyone else, I don't know. But that's what I was thinking. I was like, can we get kind of a just classic sort of, I don't know, like Van Halen, like Panama sound, just like weird kind of bouncy, like just kind of exciting, fun, like Black Sabbath drums or something. And yeah, it doesn't actually sound like that in the end, but that was the goal, even in just the kick and the snare. But the rest of it, the guitars are tricky because you got to feel like you can listen to this thing over a long period of time. It's oppressive music. And I did sacrifice a bit of loudness on this one for the feeling of immersion. And there is a big difference of an album that's trying to knock you on your socks the whole time. An album that's trying to brick wall the whole time and feel like this crazy wall of noise. It does get exhausting anyway, no matter what the music is like. For us, it's just oppressive, dense music anyway. It's got to breathe. There's got to be some air, some breath.
Yeah.
That was the challenge, huge challenge. Including mixing synths and like often like 60 layers of guitar and synth. Where does it all fit in? I will say that the challenge on this mix, I spent many, many months working on it, much to the chagrin of the rest of the band who were like probably worrying if I was going to survive. Yeah, my family are like calling the band like, is this guy okay? Like it's all I was doing. And I just decided on this mix that it was an experiment. I still don't really know if I need a few years to know if this really worked, but my idea on this one was let's mix this as if it's the 70s and you actually are not using the technology that you're using. I was like, what if at all times things are moving? I had this epiphany one day. I was like, it's an hour long, it's an hour plus of dense, oppressive music. I think the only way this thing is going to work for a listener, for me even, because I was listening to it, I was like, there were times I'm like, I don't know, I can't keep listening to this. What made sense to me was having the guitar just sort of like moving in the sound field, and there's a few layers of guitar, things coming center, and even in the middle of a riff, things are drifting to the left or the right, and it's wavering. When the synth comes in, it's usually just me playing a synth through a guitar amp, and I would just be often playing it and just moving the mic around the room or little tricks like that. Like, let's just pretend this whole thing is just flickering like a fire. And you can barely even tell now. When I listen to it now, you can barely tell.
But it feels very natural though.
There was a moment after doing this where my metric became, when I finished my mixing sessions that were just like pure suffering, like, it's just like self-flagellation sessions of just like, what is this thing? I would go inside and, whatever, drink a glass of water at the kitchen table while my family was sleeping upstairs. And my metric was like, how much do I want to keep listening to this right now? By the end, when it started getting good, I was like, yeah, the whole thing. I want to listen to the whole thing. That's when I started realizing that I liked it. Because I would sit down and listen to an hour of music when it was already 2 a.m. and I had to wake up at 6:30, and I was like, I'm listening to the whole thing. And
enjoying it.
And I would call Will the next morning and be like, I like it now. I like it now. I like the whole thing
but
now.
One tweak and then it's, you got to go back and do it all over again.
Right. But then I would make a tweak and be like, I'd be like, oh, I screwed up. I changed the kick and now the bass doesn't fit. And now I got to reamp the guitars again. Like,
right.
What's wrong with me? But, that's a, yeah.
I mean, without knowing you guys and without being that familiar with your music, my first impression in hearing both Confusion Gate and Masters Murmur was, I got the sense that you guys came from like a real like 70s prog or psychedelic background, because this really reminded me of like Goblin or Pink Floyd or stuff like that. It's very, it's not that compressed, dense kind of like, very digital sound that you get from black metal bands nowadays. It's much more organic and kind of, I don't know, like wide. The sound is very wide. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah, I mean, that's the sound palette. I love that stuff.
I can't say that we necessarily even came from that world, but that is what, I guess, more what we wanted this to sound like.
Well, it's like, in a way, I don't know. In my mind, a lot of the, in these times that I was bashing my head, I wasn't really wasn't being prescriptive about it, except for these little thoughts of like, let me think if I can make the drum sound like that or whatever. But in that weird volcanic period of trying to understand what it was, and I'd be driving to Home Depot or something to figure out, to get some wood for some house project or something. I would just be listening to the radio and just, you'd hear like an early Scorpion song come on or something. It's just like, okay, all right. Like just something. Anything I hear during these textural, suffering periods where I'm just like, what is the texture? What's the thing? What does it feel like? Anything I hear just gets sucked in. And I guess I do listen to a lot of like, of that sort of stuff in my day-to-day life, just driving around listening to the radio station. But it, at the end of the day, it's still metal. It's supposed to sound like black metal. I like it when it sounds like black metal. So that was a big thing. I am playing other music and being like, what does it sound like against this sometimes? But there are other times I'm like, I just want to throw it all against the wall and be like, it shouldn't sound like that. It could sound like anything,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was wildly variable. It really was just, this thing was for me just changing shape. Like, it was just like an amoeba changing and changing and changing. And eventually it just hardened into concrete. And it's like, that's what it is now. So it was pretty volcanic.
So the album is out now. What is the best way to get it? How can people order the album?
Well, if you're in the US, if you want a physical vinyl or CD or tape, yelloweyes.bandcamp.com. But for the first time, we actually do have a European merch store.
Swampmerch.eu.
.eu. There it is.
Swampmerch.eu.
If you search Yellow Eyes there, you'll see it.
And I believe Gilead Media came up with 2 different vinyl versions, right? A black version and a cream version?
That's right. I think as far as our stock, the cream is sold out. But I think you can go to Gilead and grab one if you if you so please.
Yeah, but we are running low, so yeah. I mean, it's these things are
We're often
pretty
criticized
one and
for
done.
having all of our past records sold out, but it's hard to repress things. It's not something we're not on a major label or anything like that. So yes, I would say if you do want a copy, you should get one before they're sold out.
Now, does all your merch go through the Bandcamp page?
Yes,
Yeah.
for us it does. Yeah,
Yep.
this time for the first time we're mainly to, yeah, I mean, Adam's winding up Gilead Media, which has been a great label for us, and we are just doing the lion's share of the shipping on this one. We're shipping out the records this time.
You find
and,
us right now talking. We're sitting amongst boxes and boxes and boxes of t-shirts
Yeah,
and
it's about
tapes. And
10 boxes all around me. So if anyone's ordered a shirt, it's coming, all right?
it's coming from this room.
And if people want to follow you guys online and get updates on live dates or tours or anything like that, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Instagram is the way. Yellow Eyes Band. That's kind of our only place where we say what we're doing. And yeah, anything we do will be there.
Very cool. Well, thank you guys both so much.
We really appreciate it. Very nice to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you. It's been great.